Centuries ago, humanity depleted Earth's natural resources, plunging society into chaos and war. To preserve what remained of civilization, the world's top scientists developed genetically modified orchids, which became the new source of energy. However, conflict persisted among humans, so the scientists introduced the transformation. At 16, every person undergoes a life-altering operation that turns them into their most ideal version of themselves. These transformed individuals, known as Pretties, live in harmony within the city, where conflict is rare due to their perfection and contentment. Meanwhile, those who have yet to undergo the procedure, called Uglies, remain in the dorms of Uglieville. Tally eagerly anticipates her 16th birthday, constantly using a mirror app to imagine her future pretty self. Her best friend, Pretties, shares this excitement. They've called each other Nose and Squint since childhood. Sometimes they sneak out to the bridge during curfew, using special glasses to watch the Pretties partying in the city. Pretties, being older, is scheduled for his transformation tomorrow, while Tally has 3 months to wait. They have matching scars on their hands and make a pact to keep them, hoping the doctors won't erase them during the operation. Suddenly, a patrol drone passes overhead, prompting them to quickly return to their dorms. The next day at assembly, Tally overhears students talking about the Smoke, a rumored hideout beyond the city, supposedly led by someone named David. It's said that many people escape the city to live there, but most students dismiss it as a myth. Just then, a hologram of Governor Cable appears, delivering a speech about the importance of being pretty and perfect. Afterward, the newly 16-year-olds are called forward, and Tally says goodbye to Pretties, reminding him to meet her at the bridge in a month. That evening, as Tally watches fireworks light up the sky, she reminisces about meeting Pretties. Her parents had just dropped her off at the dormitories, and Pretties, standing behind her in line, quickly became her friend after they exchanged nicknames. They bonded instantly, and one day, when Pretties accidentally cut his hand reaching for a tablet, Tally made the same scar on her hand as a promise they would be friends forever. As the days go by, Tally settles into her routine of attending classes and checking her reflection in the mirror. She regularly glances at her interface ring, hoping for a message from Pretties, but none ever come. When the month is up, Tally uses the ring to hack her window open, leaving it behind since it has a tracker. She sneaks out and makes her way to the bridge, but Pretties is nowhere to be found. Growing anxious, she uses a rope to climb onto the bridge, moving dangerously beneath it until she reaches the city, when a partygoer drops a mask. Tally seizes the opportunity, putting it on, and the mask projects a hologram over her, making her look like she's wearing an elegant dress. Now disguised, she enters the party, awestruck by the elaborate decorations around her. Eventually, Tally spots Pretties, though he looks so different that he doesn't recognize her at first. She takes off her mask and asks why he didn't meet her at the bridge. Pretties explains that things have changed, he's changed, and he no longer knows how to relate to her. Shocked, Tally realizes just how much he's transformed when she notices his scar is gone. Before she can process it fully, the security system detects her presence, and she's forced to flee from the approaching guards. Cornered on a balcony, Tally grabs a bungee jacket and jumps. The fall is long, but the jacket makes her bounce softly, allowing her to land safely nearby. She escapes the city by sneaking back under the bridge, but as she moves, she accidentally kicks a stone into the water. A patrol drone locks onto her, approaching for an arrest. Suddenly, Shay, a classmate, appears and urges Tally to hop on her hoverboard. They soar into the air, with the drone hot on their trail. Shay expertly navigates through the woods, performing wild turns and maneuvers until they finally lose the drone. Grateful for Shay's help, Tally sneaks into the kitchen later that night and steals snacks for them to share. The two girls bond, talking about how hard it is being left behind while their friends turn 16 and become Pretties. To their surprise, they discover they share the same birthday and get excited about the idea of transforming into Pretties together. The next day, Shay brings a second hoverboard and tries teaching Tally how to use it, but she immediately falls. At school, Tally is surprised when she sees some girls returning a book to Shay, as books have become rare. The girls are fascinated by the book's descriptions of surviving in nature, speculating if that's what life in the Smoke, the rumored hideout, is like. Tally borrows the book, but when the girls praise her for her daring stunt the previous night, she becomes furious. Realizing Shay must have told them. Worried that her actions might get her in trouble and cost her the operation, Tally confronts Shay. However, Shay reassures her that the system is designed to make sure everyone becomes a Pretty, and Tally has nothing to fear. As the days go by, Tally continues to read the book, though her mind often drifts back to thoughts of the operation. Shay keeps teaching her how to use the hoverboard, and in return, Tally hacks her interface ring to get extra food for them. Tally also shows Shay her pretty designs on her mirror app, but Shay doesn't seem interested, she doesn't even have an account. In fact, Shay is openly indifferent about the transformation. Tally finds this strange, but they bond over their hoverboarding adventures, flying over ramps and enjoying the thrill of it. When Tally returns the book to Shay, she casually mentions that she'd love to visit the beautiful places described in it. Shay seizes the opportunity, suggesting that it might not be so bad to skip the operation altogether. Tally thinks the idea is absurd, but before she can object, Shay brings up the smoke again. She leads Tally to the edge of the woods, where they leave their interface rings on some branches before crossing the border by hoverboarding over the river. Eventually, they arrive at the ruins of an old city, and Shay explains some of the relics, like roller coasters, that once existed. Finally, Shay takes Tally into an abandoned building and reveals the truth. The smoke is real, and David, the mysterious leader, is coming soon. Shay refuses to get the surgery and will be leaving tonight, so she wants Tally to come with her. Tally refuses Shay's offer, telling her she doesn't want to be free, she just wants to become pretty. Upset, Shay gives Tally directions to the smoke in case she ever changes her mind, hugging her before taking off on her hoverboard, following the signal of David's fire from another building. The next day, it's Tally's 16th birthday, and she eagerly heads to the clinic for her transformation. But to her surprise, everyone else is called in for their surgeries except her. Soon, a guard escorts her to an aircraft, taking her to meet Dr. Cable. At the Special Circumstances headquarters, Cable confronts Tally about Shay's disappearance. Tally tries to deny knowing anything, but Cable monitors her vitals and can tell she's lying. Cable then tells Tally that Shay is in danger, claiming that David has brainwashed her and that the smoke is a dangerous place where people are held against their will. Despite Tally's insistence that she knows nothing, Cable sends her back to the dorm without the surgery. That night, Tally is startled when Pretties unexpectedly appears at her window. She explains what happened, and Pretties urges her to tell Cable what she knows so they can finally be together as Pretties. The next day, Tally is summoned once more to meet Dr. Cable, who now claims that David is developing a weapon to attack the city. Cable insists that Tally must infiltrate the smoke to find out more. Reluctantly, Tally agrees to help, tempted by the promise that she'll get her surgery once the mission is completed. Before she leaves, Cable hands her a special necklace that flashes in her eyes, instructing her to activate it when she locates the weapon's exact location. Following Shay's instructions, Tally rides her hoverboard on an old roller coaster track for several miles. Eventually, she encounters a gap in the track, falls into the woods, but is luckily caught by a force field. From there, she stumbles upon abandoned train tracks, which Shay's directions told her to follow to find the smoke. Over the next few days, Tally survives in the wild using the skills she learned from Shay's book. She begins to appreciate the beauty of nature in ways she never had before, and even climbs a mountain along the way. At one point, the train tracks are interrupted by a large chasm. Tally gets back on her hoverboard and makes a daring leap across the gap, but the board shuts down mid-jump. As she plummets toward the ground, the hoverboard reactivates just in time, allowing her to land safely on the other side. Now, she has to wait in a field of flowers, just like Shay had instructed her. Meanwhile, back in the city, Dr. Cable calls Pretties to her office. She reveals that he went to Tally's dorm because she asked him to check on her. Pretties confesses that being in the city made him feel clearer, more in control. Cable then tells him that he's been selected for a special new procedure, and Pretties agrees to undergo body enhancements in the surgery machine. That night, Tally wakes up to find the field of flowers around her on fire. Coughing and panicking, she doesn't know what to do until a mysterious figure suddenly appears and rescues her. The figure is David, the leader of the smoke. David scans Tally and her belongings for any tracking devices, discovering one inside her hoverboard, which he promptly removes. However, his scanner doesn't react to the necklace. Unbeknownst to them, Cable's team receives an alert about the tracker's removal, and she sends a search team to the area. The next morning, David takes Tally to a smoke outpost where she reunites with Shay, who is thrilled to see her. However, Croy, another member of the smoke, is suspicious of Tally's sudden arrival. That night, as the group camps, Shay notices Tally's necklace and asks about it. Tally lies, claiming it was a gift from Pretties. Tally is taken aback by how happy and content Shay seems, which contradicts everything Dr. Cable had told her about the smoke. She tries to express her concerns, which leads Shay to believe Tally is there to convince her to return to the city. An argument ensues, and Tally agrees to give the smoke a chance. The next day, Tally learns the truth about the smoke's fires. They burn the genetically modified orchids because, despite being touted as a clean energy solution, the flowers are actually toxic and destroy any environment they take root in. Tally initially doesn't believe David, arguing that the orchids were supposed to save the planet, but David explains that this is a government lie. He tells her the flowers are turning vast areas of land into wastelands. To prove it, David invites Tally on one of their missions, though Croy protests. Shay, however, vouches for Tally, convincing the group to bring her along. The group uses an old helicopter they've rigged with solar panels. As they fly, Tally sees the devastating effects of the orchids for herself. Huge stretches of land once covered by the flowers are now barren deserts. During the mission, Shay uses a flamethrower to burn down a section of the orchids. Suddenly, Croy's tablet alerts them that someone is approaching, and David quickly lowers the helicopter to hide in the smoke. In the chaos, the rope securing Shay becomes loose, and she falls. With cable scouts closing in, Tally quickly ties a bag to the end of the rope for extra weight, throws it off the helicopter, and uses the rope to descend into the smoke-filled field. As the helicopter struggles to stay aloft, Tally searches frantically for Shay among the flames. She finds her just as one of Cable's scouts approaches. Thinking quickly, Tally grabs the burning bag and hurls it at the scout, driving him back. The girls cling to the rope as the helicopter takes off, narrowly escaping before a scout can leap onto it. After they land, Croy immediately accuses Tally, pointing out that the scouts could have only tracked them because of her. However, Shay fiercely defends Tally, and David agrees, saying anyone who risks their life for the smoke deserves a chance. The group sets up camp for the night, but Tally is restless. Her mind is consumed with thoughts of Dr. Cable and the manipulation tactics she taught her to use against the rebels. Unable to sleep, she leaves the tent for a walk and finds David bathing in the river, so she gets back in the tent to hide her embarrassment. The following day, Tally is blindfolded and taken to the heart of the smoke, where she discovers a thriving community living in harmony with nature. Life there is more challenging than in the city, but Tally notices the rewards. Food tastes better when it's grown by hand, and the sense of community is palpable. Unlike the city, where luxury and convenience reign, in the smoke, even the elderly work, and there's no money. Instead, goods are shared or traded, and the most remarkable part is that everyone chooses to be there. The smoke's people recycle materials like old train tracks to make tools, but they don't produce weapons since they are committed to pacifism. One afternoon, while exploring, Tally stumbles upon a strange door and curiously tries to peek inside. However, Croy catches her in the act and sternly sends her away, heightening his suspicions of her. Tally moves on, learning to use tools to help with the track recycling, sampling spicy food for the first time, and participating in lively dances around the communal fire, slowly embracing life in the smoke. Later, David teaches Tally how to use a hunting crossbow. The two enjoy their time together, and although it takes Tally several attempts, she eventually hits the practice target. As they walk back from their lesson, David opens up to her, revealing that he was born in the wild and has never seen the city. Tally is shocked by this, as it contrasts starkly with her own life, where she barely knew her parents due to the city's structured and distant society. During their conversation, David gifts Tally a pair of gloves, a gesture that seems small but carries great significance in the smoke. Shortly after, a wounded smoke member returns from a mission to burn the orchids, reporting that Cable scouts are still out there. What alarms everyone is that these scouts are faster and stronger than usual, hinting at some unnatural enhancements. Later, Shay notices Tally wearing the gloves and immediately points out the significance. In the smoke, objects have a deep personal value, and the fact that David made and gave Tally the gloves is a clear sign that he has feelings for her. Shay tells Tally to make her choice already and stop playing with them. On their next walk, Tally brings up rumors she's heard about a weapon capable of destroying the city. David, trusting her, takes her to a house hidden far from the camp, where she meets his parents, Azed and Maddie. They are the guardians of a vast collection of forbidden books and used to work as cosmetic surgeons for the government. They reveal the dark truth behind the Pretties operation. While the physical transformation is widely known, it serves as a cover for a far more sinister aspect. The surgery also alters people's brains. The operation turns people into compliant, shallow versions of themselves, making them easy to control by inducing a false sense of happiness. Worse, the procedure has even led to the deaths of many, a fact that the government has hidden from the public. AZ and Maddie share that, while working for the government, they became suspicious of these brain alterations and began their own investigation. When Dr. Cable discovered what they knew, she confiscated all their research. They fled the city to escape being silenced, choosing to live freely in the woods, aging naturally. They've been trying to recreate a cure to reverse the brain damage, but without access to a key synthetic component, all they have is an incomplete base serum. This is the so-called weapon people have whispered about, not a tool for destruction, but a potential cure that could free the Pretties from their mental captivity. After hearing this, Tally's internal conflict reaches a breaking point. Realizing the full extent of the city's control and manipulation, she decides to sever her ties with Dr. Cable and the city once and for all. Tally throws the necklace Cable gave her, which is secretly a tracker, into the fire, choosing to fully align herself with the smoke and its cause. As she watches the necklace burn, she tries to confess to David about her past betrayal and the terrible things she has done. However, David tells her that it doesn't matter, she's changed, and that's what counts. In that moment of acceptance, they share a kiss. In the fire, the necklace sparks. In the morning, city aircraft arrive at the smoke and open fire. As the rebels flee, the scouts give chase, but they fall into preset traps like nets and logs. However, the scouts are too fast and powerful for the traps to stop them. One by one, they capture the rebels, including Shay. Tally and David manage to find a hiding spot, but David wants to help. Tally holds him back, knowing the scouts are too strong. They sneak to the area where prisoners are being gathered, and Tally is devastated to see that Pretties has become a scout. At the same time, AZ and Maddie are captured, and Cable arrives, demanding to know where David is. When the parents refuse to cooperate, Cable orders Pretties to kill AZ. David and Tally rush to intervene, but they're too late. Cable then reveals that Tally had been working for her, turning the Smoke members against her. In the chaos, Maddie secretly hides the serum in David's pocket. As Cable announces that everyone will undergo surgery, Tally runs to the supply shack, starts a fire, and grabs a crossbow before escaping through a window. An explosion caused by the fire knocks back a scout, allowing David to flee. Another scout pursues him, but Tally stops him with an arrow. Pretties wants to join the chase, but Cable decides they're leaving. Some scouts destroy Maddie's research and set the area ablaze while the others load the prisoners onto the aircraft. After they depart, David collects a few remaining supplies for a rescue mission. When Tally approaches him, he attacks her with a knife, barely stopping in time. Tally offers to help rescue the others, but David, no longer trusting her, points out that he can't rely on her anymore. Tally argues that he needs her because he's never been to the city. Sometime later in the city, Tally approaches a group of students who had read Shay's book and introduces them to David, proving that the smoke is real. She borrows an interface ring from them and asks the students to gather as many kids as possible to create a distraction. Soon, a group of teenagers use their hoverboards to write "The smoke lives in the sky." While this chaos unfolds, David and Tally wait for an aircraft to depart from the clinic, then sneak inside using hoverboards. They navigate through the aircraft tunnel and safely land with the help of their bungee vests. Moving carefully, Tally tries to hack a lock with a borrowed interface ring, but the door leads to more than just a kitchen, and the ring fails. Suddenly, a Pretty opens the door, and David immediately starts fighting him. After a brief struggle, David overpowers the Pretty and pins him against the wall so Tally can take his ring. David throws him into the corridor, and Tally locks the door behind them. As alarms blare, they locate the cell and use the ring to free the prisoners. However, Tally notices Shay is missing. Croy informs her that Shay has already undergone the surgery. While most of the group escapes, David, Tally, and Maddie rush to find Shay. When they reach the lab, they discover it's too late. Shay has already become a Pretty. Tally breaks down, apologizing, but Shay insists she loves her new self. At that moment, Cable and Pretties arrive, forcing the trio into the machines to undergo the surgery. The procedure begins, but before the needles can start their work, the Smoke's helicopter appears, with Croy opening fire using a flamethrower. Cable and Pretties are forced to flee, and the machines are damaged, causing the operation to stop. The trio emerges, with Tally grabbing Shay and Maddie retrieving a vital component from a nearby cupboard. The group makes their way to the roof, where they encounter Pretties. Tally tries to reach him by using their old nicknames and pointing out the scar on his face that had reappeared from a piece of glass. Pretties gently touches Tally's face, which David misinterprets as an attack, prompting him to tackle Pretties and attempt to fight. However, Pretties proves too strong, overpowering David and beating him up. Just as it seems Pretties might kill him, Tally uses her hoverboard to rush at him, tackling Pretties and knocking him off the edge of the roof. He clings on for a moment, calling her by their nickname before falling into a waterfall below. With no time to process, the group escapes on their hoverboards, watching as other teens make the drones crash into each other in the sky. They take refuge in an abandoned city, where Maddie takes the serum from David's pocket and finishes mixing the cure. However, she admits there's no guarantee it will work or if it could cause harmful side effects to the brain. Shay refuses to take it, and Maddie won't force anyone, so Tally volunteers to be the test subject. Her plan is to turn herself in, undergo the surgery, and then take the cure afterward, promising to leave a sign so they'll know if it works. As the aircraft and Cable approach, Tally says a final goodbye to the group. She allows the scouts to arrest her while the others flee. Sometime later, Tally is living the life of a perfect Pretty in a luxurious apartment. She claims to love her new life, but the scar on her hand reveals the truth. She's still herself, secretly acting as a spy. Please like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.